Awesome. So thank you so much, guys. I'm super excited to kick off today's webinar on mindfulness. We have the incredible Mr. Bill Zimmerman from Penn State joining us, and he did this presentation at EDU Digital Web Summit, and it was incredible. Definitely a fan favorite. So we are super excited to have him with us today to be able to share for everybody in the Higher Ed Social Facebook group, everybody following along on Twitter. Hope to inspire you today with some really great tips and tricks that can help us all in our daily work. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Bill. He's going to take it over.
All right. Yeah, thanks for that awesome introduction. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've given this presentation 2 other times, and it's been really gratifying just hearing how much it really connects with people. You know, mindfulness is very much kind of a buzzword at the moment, and I think for good reason. I think it has a lot of value in improving our lives, across the board. And, it's no secret that doing social media can be really stressful and difficult. So people who work in that sphere are really excited to have anything to help make the process a little better. So that's what kind of initially planted the seed in my head for coming through with something like this. First off, I want to come clean from the beginning that this is very much a struggle, and it's something I struggle with a lot. If you were to meet me in person, you may be surprised that I'm not always super relaxed and mindful, and can sometimes have difficulty concentrating. Just this week, my office organized a one-day conference, and it was kind of, as one of the organizers, I had an obligation to keep an eye on the conference hashtag, but I also found myself just constantly checking my phone and really struggling with being mindful during the presentations. It went beyond just making sure everything was going well with the hashtag. I was obsessing over whether someone liked the tweet or not, or wanted to make sure I was coming off smart to everyone there. And I think we've all dealt with those situations where we're all kind of disturbed sometimes a little bit by how much we're connected and, checking our phones constantly. And just that, there are times where I'm swearing under my breath when I'm doing my job and somebody asks a stupid question, or somebody on social media is mean and snarky. All that stuff happens, and this is just something, contemplation, meditation, it's something that you get better with practice. There are days I go long stretches without meditating. It's always a struggle, but I have definitely felt the benefits, from having it in my life. I think a big part of this, and that will help you in social media, is to not consider yourself an expert. Things are always changing. It's really, people are ready to pile on you already. And by declaring mastery, you make it even easier and more attractive for them to beat up on you. And so as I'm doing this, just want to say, I see myself as kind of a fellow traveler on a digital journey that can be really, really stressful. And, and I think I have some things that will really help for you. I've dabbled in meditation, mindfulness stuff for a long time, going back to when I was a kid, listening to relaxation cassettes. I was a nervous kid, as you can imagine. I've read books with fun titles like Fear and Man's Search for Meaning. I've thought about this stuff a lot. I've been in meditation groups. I once did an 8-hour silent meditation retreat. I'm a big fan of mindfulness apps like Stop, Breathe, and Think. I'm an adjunct faculty member right now in journalism. And I've been thinking of ways to, how mindfulness can help my students relax, help increase their confidence, help make them more creative. And I've also been part of a planning group on campus that's exploring creating some sort of holistic learning minor that would be closely connected with a lot of mindfulness. So this is stuff that's been on my mind for a long time, and starting to work in social media made it really seem crucial to really embrace the power of mindfulness. There's a great Gandhi quote where he said, "I have so much to do today, I'll have to meditate twice as long." And I think that's kind of where I'm at.
That's awesome. I don't think a lot of people really notice that in their lives. If you see people out with friends and they're maybe having drinks or getting food, and everybody's on their phone, and not really enjoying being present in the moment. And so it's definitely something to be mindful of.
Yep. Yeah. And that's, I want to talk a lot about that, about the advantages to being in the moment. And as social media people who, are responsible for coming up with content, if you're more in the moment, you're going to find, you're going to be better prepared to identify cool things that are going on.
That is awesome. That is such a good tip.
Thanks. So I'm going to launch into the presentation here. Bear with me. This may just take a few moments. Sometimes these things can be tricky. Okay, how's that looking for everyone? Are you seeing the full slide?
Looks good on my side.
Okay.
How about viewers online? You guys seeing everything okay?
Okay, I will move on. So first off, I'm going to start this with some ground rules. There will be no preaching. I will not try to convert you to any particular religious way of thinking today. There will be no mention of chakras. I will not try to sell you any energy harnessing crystals afterward. And you're not going to have to go back to your office and lobby for a change of the dress code that allows for flowing robes and sandals. I'm trying to demystify mindfulness here and make this not intimidating at all, make it not seem new agey and weird. But what I do want you to do today is really try to focus on observing your thoughts and observing your actions during my talk. Think about how distracted you may feel. I'm probably as guilty as anyone being on webinars and Google Hangouts and having my web browser going on and searching the web while people are talking, not being present. So I would just ask you kind of think about those urges to, whether it's to fidget in your chair or just occupy your mind with something else. We've all been there. Ask yourself, what's keeping you from being fully engaged in this moment? And as we get started, I'd like for you to do really a quick exercise, and we're going to revisit this later in the talk. But what I want you to do is we're just going to take a few moments. I want you to close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and just think about what you are feeling right now, and try to put a label on it. I'm kind of guilty of planning. So during the day, I'm thinking about the evening and hoping and planning out what I'm going to have for dinner, what I'm going to do, hopefully that I'm going to have enough time to grade papers for my class, that sort of thing. So try to label your thoughts. What is getting in your head right now? Are you planning something? Are you rehearsing something? Maybe a conversation you want to have with a colleague later in the day. Are you playing something back? Maybe you're thinking about an embarrassing situation that happened earlier in the day. Or playing back a really good moment and just kind of basking in some of the good vibes. And are you problem solving? Is there just some unresolved issue in your life that you were just constantly thinking about and trying to figure a solution out for? And maybe you're content right now. I hope that's the case. That's awesome. Just kind of try to put a label on what you're thinking at the moment. And then later on in the presentation, whatever you have written down, acknowledged, it's going to be a little bit more helpful as we do another contemplation exercise. So just take a few minutes to think about that. Label your thoughts: planning, rehearsing, playback, problem solving, contentment. Maybe there's a category I'm not thinking about. So just take a few moments. All right, so I hope you had something there, and you can think about it a little bit more as we move on, but we have a limited amount of time together, and I'm going to keep it moving. All right, so what is mindfulness? I'm going to give you two quick definitions here. This one comes from Jon Kabat-Zinn. He's an excellent resource. He's an academic. He studied mindfulness extensively. He says mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, and non-judgmentally. And Jon Kabat-Zinn he's written several books on mindfulness that are very accessible to anyone. Another good one here. This is the only moment that is real. To be here now and enjoy the present moment is our most important task. That's from a Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. Also a good resource. He's written several books. He's in his 80s and he's giving good advice still on Twitter. So two really good comments to think about as we contemplate mindfulness. And really I want to make it clear, that this is about empowerment. It's about making your mind better, turning your inner voice into an ally instead of your worst critic. And I mean, that, as you can imagine, will be a big help in dealing with social media, where, everything we do is put out there for public consumption, for people to analyze and think about. So really, mindfulness is living in the moment, and we hone this idea of living in the moment with contemplative practices. So there's really a lot of these. It's probably more broad than you realize. This could be yoga, it could be prayer, it could be walking, it could be journaling. Even just taking a few moments throughout the day to pause and take a few deep breaths. That's contemplation. That's being mindful. I just read a really cool book called Joy on Demand. It's about mindfulness, and the author advocates for just taking any time in your daily life when you are waiting for something, just taking that moment to reflect, taking that moment to take a few deep breaths. So for me, that was the other night when I'm watching Game of Thrones and the Roku is buffering. The signal cuts out, and you see that little bar, that progress bar, and you're just watching it every second to advance and hoping that the show comes back on. I just decided to rather be angry, agitated, to just take that few moments to focus on my breath. And that can really do wonders. It can, you take these situations that are usually aggravating, waiting in line at the supermarket, being in a waiting room at the doctor's office, being on the bus, and you take that opportunity to just be with your thoughts for a little bit, to just focus on your breath and try to relax. So this is a great resource here. This is the tree of contemplative practices. There's probably something on here that fits into your life. There's it's all over the place. There's got to be something there. If one thing seems too new agey and weird, there's probably something here that seems more down to earth. There's two kind of ways of breaking down some sort of contemplative practice. One is something very formal. That's when you get your yoga mat out, your yoga bolster, yoga bolster. You sit down and make a point of meditating for 30 minutes. And you set a timer. It's structured. And there's also informal practice. That's that sort of thing I talked about before, where you just take a few minutes to focus on your breath while you're waiting for the bus. It's those things that you kind of work into your everyday life. I've read books where there's talk of just washing the dishes. If is using something like washing the dishes or sweeping the floor and treating it as a contemplative practice. So you take this means to an end, you take something that you really don't enjoy doing, and you just turn it around. You turn it into a chance to be in the moment, and that has value. So you're turning a means to an end into a contemplative practice. This could also means just maybe leaving your phone out and not taking your phone with you in the bathroom. Yeah, people, we've all been guilty of that. It's that stuff like that, just little things in your day-to-day that connect you more with the moment and get you out of that cycle of always trying to find something to occupy, those little free moments. So take little moments to be in the moment. So let's look at the benefits of mindfulness. There's a growing body of research to support the positive effects of mindfulness in our life. Just at Penn State, we have a research center that's done a lot of work in how mindfulness can help teachers at the elementary and high school level, and also how it can help the students as well. It's been shown to help curb some behavioral methods, or it's been shown to curb behavioral problems in students in high school. So they're really doing some great things. Also at Penn State, we have dedicated meditation space on campus, and a meditation group that does weekly group meditations. Who would like to decrease their anxiety associated with social media? It's going to be a resounding yes. And that's no question. And I really believe this can help. So as you see some of the health benefits, this could decrease stress and anxiety. It can increase our attention. It can improve interpersonal relationships. It could strengthen compassion. can stimulate areas of the brain that are critical to learning and memory and regulating our emotions and behaviors. This is good stuff. And just when you think about these sorts of things and then you think about what social media can do to you, this all seems really attractive. With social media, we all know too well that now it seems like every crank has a voice. Whether and the misinformed seem to really like using their voice on social media. We're seeing the comment sections become just cesspools in places that we really have to monitor vigilantly. And we have to make sure we hide comments and delete comments and ban users. It's really, there's a lot there that a lot of muck that you have to wade through. And plus, and the flow of information is constant. A crisis can come at any time. Issues do not respect our, 9-to-5 work schedule. And there's, it's just a Google search away to see famous social media fails from big brands. There are people out there who just love to pounce on a screw up and share it with the world, regardless of whether you ended up deleting a post.
Yep. That's so true.
Yeah.
The internet is written in ink.
Yeah, you're kind of a target. So why do it? You know a lot of these businessy arguments. That it's certainly an affordable means of PR and advertising. It's also effective in building community, for sure. And also, I really feel if you approach this with sincerity, authenticity, and compassion, you really have this power to really put some good vibes out there. And that's one thing, part of this job that can be really satisfying. So these are just some examples from Penn State social media. At the top there, that's the corner room. It's a place where Penn Staters have been eating for generations. Putting that photo up around Christmas time is a slam dunk for us on social media. People love it, and the comment sections are full of people talking about how that was their first job, how they had their first date with their future husband there, and it's really sweet. You get a lot of nice things associated with a campus landmark. You just do fun stuff like taking a photo of a puppy on the old main lawn. This does nothing to promote Penn State as a high-powered research institute or an academic powerhouse. It's just a fun thing that just gives you a sense of what life can be like on campus. We put Penn State, there was a lot of weddings that happened at Penn State. Several buildings on campus host receptions and wedding ceremonies. So we'll occasionally solicit for wedding photos. And you get these really nice professional photographs and sweet stories of people finding lasting love on campus. And we get to kind of tap into some of those good moments. And it's nice to see, to actually bring some joy out there. You also get comments like we see D. Medford there, just a freshman who was just reaching out for more information. He was so thrilled, that Penn State responded to him, and it's really adorable. You have this chance to make a connection with a future student that means a lot to them. That makes them feel like they're going to come to Penn State and not, be another number.
And that's really what we're looking for, right? In marketing and branding and reaching out as the voice of our institutions is helping students find their place, that this is the school that they are going to find a home at. Yeah,
exactly. In a place like Penn State that has, more than 40,000 students, it's even that more important. Because that can be sometimes a common knock on the place, that you're going to go there and just get lost in the shuffle, or that your instructors aren't going to care. And it's really that's really not the case. And we have a chance to kind of to fight that notion.
Wow.
So what I want to do is I'll show you how we can bring some calm and joy into this crazy world of social media. We can have more of these good vibe moments and just roll with the punches when some of the nastier stuff comes along. But before we do that, I want to break this up into a little guided meditation. This is a chance for us to take a break from, looking at our computer screens, take a break from checking your phone, checking Twitter while this is all going on. What I want to do is just kind of get you in this mindset of being a little bit more relaxed, being a little more contemplative, and trying to be mindful. So what I want you to do is just wherever you are right now, just to sit back, Sit with your, sit in a chair is fine. With your back straight. And I just want you to close your eyes and focus on your breath a little bit. I want you also to make note of that thought that you labeled earlier in this session. That whatever you labeled, that's going to be kind of your target, your enemy, that thing that you're going to have to be extra vigilant about, popping into your brain. And when it comes into your head, that's fine. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just acknowledge it and move on. And there's just taking a deep breath and then exhaling. Doing that several times can help you start to find some calm, help you start to find some focus. So I really, just want you to take a little bit of time with your breath. I'm a big fan of imagining, I've read this and I thought it was great, of imagining yourself as a mountain. You feel grounded, you feel strong, and those thoughts that come into your head are just clouds. You look at them, it's a pretty cloud, and you let it keep passing by. So how about we just take some time, take a deep breath, and take a long exhale. See if you can match up the length of your breath, the inhale with your exhale. And that'll be a good way to get a good breathing pattern going. So let's take a few minutes to do that. Okay, as we wrap this up, I want to lead you in an exercise of zeroing in a little bit, finding ways to really connect with that breath. Maybe you want to just keep focusing on your breath, and that's fine. You may find it helpful to imagine cool air coming in and hot air going out. Cold to hot, cold to hot. We started with deep breaths to heighten your awareness, but just breathe normally now. You may want to do a body scan. Start from your toes and work up. Acknowledge any sensations. What's sore? What's numb? What's feeling A-okay? Maybe you want to envision yourself as a mountain. You're grounded. You're a pillar of strength. There may be a sound. You may hear a ticking clock, a buzzing air conditioner. You can put your attention on that sound and nothing else, and just accept what is. That's being fully in the moment. Take the next few moments to just be. I hope that you're finding a bit of relief. hope that a little time spent disconnected felt good. I hope that you've been easy on yourself. There's not one among us who went through this without any distracting thoughts. Creeping anxieties, that inner critic that keeps rearing its ugly head. Maybe some of you even started getting sleepy, and that's fine. The Dalai Lama said sleep is the best meditation. I love that. It's all okay. There are no bad meditators. Let's take 3 more deep breaths, and we will get back to the presentation. So welcome back. I hope I brought you a little moment of calm, and that I made your time away from your phone or your laptop a little more tolerable. And I want to take you further on this journey. I want to start giving you some tips that can help you on this mindful path that can make you a stronger social media manager. Now, as a mindful social media manager, I believe that this path will help you to be more open, be more aware, be more resilient. I really believe that those 3 things would make this intense, always-on job a little easier. All right, so be open. The mindful social media manager is flexible. So when I'm, deep in the gears of the social media machine, I like to think about Bruce Lee. He had this great quote, "Be water, my friend." That really just, I just think it's just awesome. It's just a reminder to roll with the punches. Just keep it moving. Each day there may be, from day to day, you may go from tweeting a photo of pets on the quad to distributing an advisory about a broken water main, to fielding complaints about lousy Wi-Fi on campus, or maybe you're issuing a major presidential message. There's no time to wish the situation was different and that things were a little easier and less chaotic. You just got to go with it. And when you establish this sense of openness, it gets a little easier. So what does this Bruce Lee of social media look like? Well, I really believe that they don't call themselves experts, and certainly don't say goofy things like being a social media ninja. I hate that one. And people are already ready to beat up on you, and by declaring mastery, you really invite the criticism. This is tough work, and but it's highly likely that you don't know everything there is about social media. You probably got this job because you're really good at a lot of things. You have multiple talents. Maybe you're a great writer or a great designer or a great networker. You have lots of talents that got you this far, but you probably don't know all there is. And I really believe that this kind of attitude of accepting that you're not an expert can be really freeing. There's a Zen concept of the beginner's mind. And with the beginner's mind, you have an openness to new approaches, an enthusiasm for change, and a willingness to try and fail. So I believe that's really important. Skipping ahead, that was a great photo though. The mindful social media manager also moves with lightness. They don't take themselves too seriously. They're not overly self-conscious. They're not afraid to be at a big campus event with lots of important people and to have their phone out and be taking videos and photos and calling attention to themselves. They're okay with that. They're not afraid to kneel down in the grass and take a really cool shot of a squirrel, like I did here. It was totally worth it. Look how cute that thing is. He's even smiling at me. So I was really happy about that one. And you know what? Often, we may find that our leadership and even our colleagues really don't have a good grasp of what we do. They may just think you're that weird guy who takes photographs of squirrels all day. They don't understand that on a day-to-day basis, you could be a photographer, a videographer, a customer service rep, an artist, a marketer. There's so many different things that we do on a day-to-day basis. And you know what? You just may never get to a point where leadership and colleagues totally understand and respect what you do. And that's okay. Mindfulness teaches this satisfaction that comes from within, not from outside validation. And the sooner you look within to find fulfillment, the easier it gets, because externally you may never get the acknowledgement that you're always searching for. Buddhists have this idea of what they call leaning, so that we're all susceptible to doing this. We lean towards that thing in life that we think is going to bring satisfaction, it's going to bring happiness, the perfect job, the perfect coworkers who celebrate what we do, the perfect city where our creativity can flourish. And by just leaning towards these things, we don't do ourselves any favors. We kind of are just waiting for the right opportunity to come along rather than being our masters of our own destiny. We're kind of making ourselves believe this illusion that all it takes is just this one thing to happen to us and everything will be okay. And that's not the case. Mindful Social Media Manager also adapts. Right now we have the ability to schedule posts, and that's really helpful, but we also need to be ready for those times where we need to just scrap our plan. And sometimes, news events happen, and a post that we may have scheduled may be deemed inappropriate. In light of that, we have to be ready to flip the script, make adjustments, change things on the fly. And when things don't go our way, it's good. We can't beat ourselves up about it. If a Twitter, a hashtag campaign failed, we don't beat ourselves up over it. We dispassionately look at the situation and try to figure out what went wrong and make a change. And I really believe that kind of the unceasing flow of information and new content online can be kind of freeing in a way. Now, certainly, if you do something that's really insensitive, tone deaf, opportunistic, and you're a big brand, that mess up can live online. But most likely, a typo, a lazily written tweet, that stuff is going to be pretty quickly forgotten. It's going to continue to be knocked down in the feed. And by no means is this permission for you to phone it in, but it's kind of encouraging being easy on yourself when things don't quite go your way. You need to consider opportunities for improvement and move on. And social media can be a pretty safe space for experimentation. You say you tweet the length of a post, you use a different hashtag, you target different audiences. You just need to be focused on learning from failure. Be aware. Mindful Social Media Manager is aware. This is about cultivating awareness. With contemplative practice, we can become better aware of our own thoughts and become less likely to identify with the nagging inner critic. We all have that inner critic that pops up more often than we'd like. And it's important to remember that you are not your thoughts. Mindfulness is an exercise in heightened awareness of the world around you and the activities that you partake in. And you can and by being more aware of what's going on around you and what's going on in your own head, you can have a fuller appreciation of just your day-to-day experience. So what does this focused, aware social media manager look like? They're single taskers. And then you may think it's impossible, and that in your fast-paced job, it's just you can't get through it without multitasking. But I really believe multitasking is overrated. I urge you to start trying to be a single tasker just when it starts to composing a post or writing a tweet. I'm sure a lot of you are like me, where maybe you started writing a tweet and the inspiration doesn't come to you right away, and you take a break. You go read a news story on the web. You go check to see if there are any comments that need answered on Facebook, and you pull yourself out of that moment. But I'd encourage you, when you're writing a tweet, writing a Facebook post, make that the most important thing in your job at that moment. Zero in. Really try to be a single tasker. Eliminate distractions and just fight those urges to do something else. An aware social media manager also knows when to disconnect. I'm a big believer in the power of taking a walk. It really can help in clearing your head, help you draw inspiration from your surroundings. Many of us are fortunate to work on college campuses, so we're surrounded by just bustling life, from students to animals. There's never a dull moment, and many of us work on very pretty campuses. Green grass, tall trees, ivy-covered buildings. And so often we're rushing to another meeting, hustling to work, and we're not paying attention to all that's going on around us. And in all those things that are going on, I believe there's lots of content lurking. So, maybe you take this leisurely stroll, you start focusing on your steps and engaging all your senses. Walking meditation is a thing. And for those of you who really kind of hate trying to sit still, it may be the best, alternative. With walking meditation, you just put all your focus on your foot hitting the ground and your body moving. Or maybe you put all your attention on all the sights and sounds going on. And it can be a really, really good calming experience. You think about this, you acknowledge the sun beating down on your face, or the wind or the rain. And then when it's time to, start to work, time to write a tweet, you start seeing content. So this is kind of an example of this in action. Photos will emerge when you are paying attention. This right here is Old Main. It's our administrative building going back to the 1930s. It's often photographed. Every day you practically see somebody there taking a photo, taking a selfie in front of it. It's been photographed so many times that it can really seem daunting to try to take a creative shot, to take a new look at it. But when you start being mindful, you start looking more at your surroundings. You look up at the sky to see what's going on. You look up down at the ground. You start seeing kind of little neat opportunities to frame the shot. So this is just kind of an example of that there's what's lurking in what can seem just like the day-to-day, a building that you go to every single day. But look, there's all these different ways to present it throughout the year. So mindfulness can help these things pop out. You're aware, you're looking for something interesting. It's not just, this is my normal daily commute. Nothing interesting is going on. And an aware social media manager is able to find inspiration. Now, doing social media, you are going to see your fair share of negativity around you all day. So I'd encourage you to start looking for ways that you can, find some calm, find some inspiration, find something to remind you to be mindful. I follow Twitter accounts like Tiny Buddha and Daily Zen. They're just quick tweet-sized bits of wisdom. And, you put a few of those in your Twitter stream and they pop up, and sometimes they pop up at a really fortunate time when you really need some inspiration. I'd encourage you to check out meditation apps like Insight Timer and Headspace. They're free, and they do an excellent job of making mindfulness something you can fit into a coffee break. I'd encourage you to start reading some mindfulness books. I mentioned Jon Kabat-Zinn and Thich Nhat Hanh. That's a great place to start. Eckhart Tolle is also a good one. Maybe you create a Pinterest board of inspirational quotes. You just start building up this little world around you where inspiration and encouragement is easy to find, because you're going to need it in this job. I keep a Ralph Waldo Emerson quote from Self-Reliance on my desk. I like to reflect on that from time to time. Also think about prompts that could help remind you to take time for yourself. At Penn State, I mentioned some of the research going on. One of the studies promoting mindfulness in high school teachers, they gave all the teachers coffee mugs, and there was only one word on that coffee mug. It just said breathe. It's just a little reminder for them throughout the day to think about themselves for a moment. And stuff like that can be powerful. Maybe it's just a Post-it note that you put on your computer and it just says 3 on there, reminding you to take 3 deep breaths throughout the day. Little stuff like that can have an impact and help establish a really positive habit. So maybe you join a meditation group. Meditation groups can be really powerful in that you realize this kind of shared experience, this shared challenge that trying to calm your mind can be. It can be easy, to step into this and assume that others are great at it. But you sit down in a meditation group and you have a discussion afterwards, you realize that everyone is struggling with these thoughts. They're just constantly bombarding them. And a mindful social media manager is also resilient. There's trolls, critics, haters. There are folks who love to see social media fails and to aflame their righteous anger at the slightest provocation. There's a veritable army out there ready to split hairs over historical details, grammar, typos, and they will do it in the most obnoxious way. And some of this feedback will be harsh, but some of it can actually be helpful. And we just, if we look at it with an open mind, if we don't immediately take things personally, we're in a better position to help. Because all this can very easily erode our confidence and make us bitter. But we need to get over it, move past it, and again, mindfulness can help. So what does this unsinkable social media specialist look like? Well, they embrace interconnectivity, interdependence. They acknowledge that we're part of a vast community, and that social media is constantly reminding you that just how connected we all are. That no man or woman is an island. And this can really be a beautiful thing. Say a hashtag rallies people behind a worthy cause, or you put out an inspirational news article and it goes viral, or you're able to share in followers' successes like we did with wedding photos. But there are repercussions for an unclear post, an insensitive customer service response, or silence in the face of controversy. You will find out pretty quickly that just how interconnected we all are. You really need to publish content with utmost care. Ask yourself, what's the value? What are we adding out there? What kind of energy are we putting out? What content can we produce that will make an emotional impact that could potentially enrich someone's life? And interconnectivity is a certainty at an institution as big as Penn State that has a very loyal and large following. So it's thrilling for me when a post elicits a really positive response from current students, parents, and alums. It just transcends generations. It gets everyone feeling good. But also this, impassioned audience will certainly let you know if they think something you did is misguided. If they think that a post did nothing to advance the reputation of the university, they're going to let you hear about it. So you got to embrace this community that exists around your brand, seek common ground with your audience, and resist the urge to see critics as villains. And that can be really easy to do. But just remember this, interconnectivity can be a comfort. It's a reminder that you are not alone. You also practice loving kindness. So we're getting really touchy-feely here as we wrap things up, but hear me out. So as criticism mounts, the likelihood that you'll take some of this to heart increases. But again, you don't have to identify with that inner critic. You are not what your thoughts say you are. Meditation on loving kindness can nurture compassion towards yourself and others. So this idea of loving kindness is that you are more accepting of yourself and you extend that same understanding to others, even if they're a nasty troll. So maybe this is just as simple as you take a few seconds to make an inner wish for this person's happiness, even though they've really rubbed you in the wrong way. The meditation apps I mentioned earlier are full of guided meditations on loving kindness. They can be very powerful and eye-opening and really lift a burden off you, for sure. Each complaint or question can easily be seen as an irritant. It keeps us from the fun side of social media. Sometimes questions that come through on Facebook, no matter how innocent, annoy me because they're taking me out of the fun part of my job, and I'm transported into working into a help desk, somewhere. But it just gotta deal with it. It's part of the job, and it's a chance to connect, to make a positive connection with someone. And we need to look past, that digital avatar that we see on our screen, and and try to see these complaints coming from a complex human. That puts us in a better place to help. We can maybe dwell on some of the motivations in their life. What struggles they may be dealing with that are influencing them to be so bitter, to complain so much, to criticize us. Maybe they have a legitimate feeling or legitimate reason for feeling slighted or ignored. And we want to be in a good place to help that, to alleviate it. So you try to think about what may be at the root of their anger, and could this anger be rooted in a deep love for the institution? Can you see yourself in this person? So last year we did a brand refresh. We changed our visual brand identity for the first time since the 1980s, and we really took our lumps on Facebook, especially from older alums who just absolutely hated this logo. We were constantly seeing comments like "change the logo," and this would appear on every post for weeks, regardless of whether it was related to the logo. We would get these spoofs like you see here, And comments like this one from Dana that are just oh so funny. Don't blame the social media person for the typo. The stupid logo made them do it. So thanks, Dana. But yeah, I mean, and it was exhausting to wade through all this anger. And often I was thinking, just get a life, person, give up. But I try to think a little bit more about what's going on. And really, if people were indifferent about Penn State, if they went here and it didn't make much of an impact, maybe no one would have said anything about the logo. But Penn Staters are passionate. Penn State means something to them. And if they feel that a design doesn't convey the credibility that the institution deserves, they're going to make us hear about it. And as we try to look for people's motivations, maybe this is extreme, but possibly some of these people, the Penn State logo was maybe the only constant in their life. Everything was changing, nothing stayed the same, and all that change in their life was abrupt and troubling. And maybe they took comfort in that the seal for Penn State has remained the same since their college days, and seeing something so established change really bothered them. And maybe that wasn't the case for anyone, but if you start thinking that way, you start feeling a little bit more compassionate, and you start kind of realizing that everyone could be fighting their own, that we're all fighting our private battles, and we have really no idea what motivated people to pick apart our new design. Some may have just been mean. Some may have really felt that the institution was damaged by this new design. And now you don't hear anything about it, and we've actually received a design award for the relaunch. So it's become more and more accepted, and I think it looks great. Lastly, the Mindful Social Media Manager has a beginner's mind. We talked about this a little bit before. The late Buddhist monk Shunryu Suzuki wrote that in a beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert mind, there are few. So for the Mindful Social Media Manager, this mindset is one that resists self-centered thoughts. It can create a flexibility and a willingness to accept feedback and attempt new things. Meditation teachers will also warn of letting ego creep into your practice. You want to resist this competitive nature that I want to be the best meditator, or I want to not have any thoughts creep into my head for that entire 30 minutes, or I want to be the most still person in this room. And that's just not good. And we want to be easy on ourselves. And with the beginner's mind, we make it less about us. We acknowledge that we're still learning, and we're open to accepting advice. Even if it comes in an abrasive package, we have a better sense of self. We're not taking things personally. And when somebody is kind of a jerk on there, we're able to step back and just see whether there's any validity in what they're saying. So before I bid you namaste and answer any questions that you may have, I just want to recap. You don't have to be a crunchy granola type to tap into the power of mindfulness. By being more open, aware, and resilient, you can handle the stress of this job and create an inner space that's really fertile ground for inspiration. So I thank you, and I just want to share a few resources here at the end, and I will field some questions. I mentioned some of these apps and Twitter accounts earlier, but check these out. I'm really a big fan of Insight Timer, an app that has hundreds of guided meditations that you can listen to, and it's totally free. And there's just really a lot of good stuff out there. There's a Mindful magazine. There are research centers like the Center for the Greater Good that are putting out really good articles and e-newsletters. And just I think I would encourage you to just try to surround yourself with this kind of stuff. Have it at the ready, in your day-to-day, and it will make all this much easier. So I'm going to switch back to stop presenting here and check and see if there are any questions that need addressed.
Awesome. Well, that was amazing. I think everybody will agree that was just so much great information. I found myself there like trying to center back, and it was difficult. It's not something that you think you can just sit still and be quiet for a minute. But it's actually really quite difficult, challengingly difficult, I think, to force yourself to just be quiet for a minute. And that the ideas about getting to go outside and just taking a walk and trying to be present in the moment is going to make you a better content strategist. It's going to make you a better social media manager. It's probably going to make you a more effective professor, or advisor, or whatever job you're doing on campus. If you're able to actually connect with people, that would be amazing. Exactly. So we have one question here from Matt. He says he wants to know, how can he get one of those crystals you mentioned at the beginning of the presentation?
Well, I work with Matt. It'll be easy to try to rip him off with something one of these days. So yeah, let me think about that, Matt.
Does anybody else have any questions? Feel free to put them in the chat box or tweet them to us. We're following along. We've got a few more minutes of Bill's time before he's got to get back. And so since he's the great guru of it, let's take this opportunity. Maddie says, what would you say to someone who's literally never meditated before?
Yeah, I would encourage you to look at that tree of contemplative practice slide and just see if anything works for you. And also kind of maybe reconsider your definition of meditation. And like I said, it can be forcing yourself to sit down for 10 minutes and be with your thoughts. But it also could just be writing in a journal at the end of the day and reflecting on what went well that day and what you may want to improve on. There's a lot of different things that can just have a lot of benefit. So really, yeah, I think if you broaden your kind of definition, and also if you and also just be easy on yourself. Just take 5 minutes then to maybe sit down and try to focus on your breath. Just little things can really help. And I'm also a big fan of just the informal practices of trying to just incorporate these ideas into your day-to-day. For me, something that really just I found helpful in my life is just resisting this urge to time travel, to fantasize or to reflect. It's this idea of just being in the moment. Not going back into the past and reliving an embarrassing moment, not going into the future and dreaming about the ideal life that you see for yourself, and just kind of keeping that in your head all the time. It can really be helpful. So yeah, there's as mindfulness gets more popular, there's so many different avenues to kind of tap into the benefits of meditation and contemplation.
It's true. Maddie, does that help? Post up and let us know. I too am terrible at relaxing and have a very hard time. Even if I'm eating, I feel like I always have to be doing something else, reading or responding to something. And the emails, like that little notification that goes off at the bottom of your screen, is like, oh my God, something is there. I have to respond to it. And trying to remember that it's okay not to answer that, or that I am not going to be at my best if I'm stressed. So
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you can take extreme measures too. I mean, there are different apps for your browser that you could you could block Twitter from 8 to 5 every day, or and also somebody just turning your phone off and putting it in another room. Sometimes just doing that can help a little bit.
I think that's really something that we don't really focus on. We're told, multitasking is a good thing, that, you should always be able to do more. We don't have enough budget. We don't have enough people. We have to wear all these hats, and to hear that it's okay to single task. You'll actually be more effective if you can focus on one thing at a time. That would actually be, a better option than trying to do 10 things at once and strategize and think up content ideas and run outside and trying to do all of that. If we can, that it's okay to just single task sometimes.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, just be easy on yourself, and we can often become kind of addicted to being busy, and acknowledging that and trying to fight it a little bit will go a long way.
I think that is definitely me. I am addicted to being busy. I have a very hard time saying no. I have a lot of ideas, and I want to be as helpful as I can, and I never want to let my colleagues or my boss down. And so I struggle with that myself. So this has been awesome. If anybody else have any questions, post them up, let us know. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today and watching our webinar for this week on mindfulness for the social media manager with Bill Zimmerman from Penn State. If you're interested, definitely jump online, follow him. He is at @thisisbill_BillZ on Twitter. We'll also have a link in the video as well. So definitely follow him. And thank you so much for joining us today, guys. If there's anything else that you would love to see, let us know in the Facebook group, Higher Ed Social. Somebody asked for the mindfulness webinar and we found a great speaker, and that's how these things happen. So if there's a topic you're interested in, please do let us know. We'll try our best to get a great speaker for you to share. And if there's no more questions, we're gonna go ahead and bring this webinar to an end. Thank you so much, Bill. This has been amazing.